I was going to say, what do
All right, getting ready.
I get there at 7 in
Here
the
we go.
morning. I'd
Drew,
be
you'd have been a head
the last
coach
one
by
there.
now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I
You'd
wouldn't
have
have
been a
done
head
it.
coach making $5 million a year or $3 million a year, shit.
Amen.
And you were worried about making
I think Herm
peanuts.
Edwards could have, Ray Rhodes and them guys.
Look at all them guys who got coaching jobs. You more qualified and more articulate and all that to be that, have that
And
job.
handsomer.
Good looking. You've been a good representative in the community.
Good morning, North Texas, and welcome to another edition of the A&E Show. A very special edition this morning. And this morning I'm joined on our team by Bubba Thompson,
Good morning, DFW.
the spin doctor James Schaefer,
Hey, a quick shout out to that Rockwall YMCA basketball team. Can't wait to go and coach at 1:30 today.
all right, and of course we got Big Ben on the board, and of course I'm Doc, your host for today. We have two very, very special guests in studio this morning. We have the original number 88 from the Dallas Cowboys, Drew Pearson. Thank
Here.
you, Drew.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And we have the Manster, number 54, Randy White.
Well, I'm glad to be here this morning, Jim.
Well, we appreciate you. We really appreciate you guys coming in this morning and taking the time. We're kind of doing a NFL wrap-up show, NFL season wrap-up show. The Super Bowl is still fresh on everybody's mind, as bad as it was. But this is what we're doing this morning, and we're glad to have you guys.
Man, I really thought that game was going to be a little tighter, to be honest with you. I knew that the Seahawks had an excellent, quick defense, but I was looking forward to Peyton Manning just kind of picking them apart, and man, that never happened from the get-go.
Yeah, I think, what Seattle wanted to do initially in the game is to make their presence felt.
And they did.
They're going to come out and just slug you and see what they could get away with.
Yeah.
And I think Denver was a little intimidated on that first series with the field position that they had. Now they're in that shotgun. The crowd's going crazy. And, Seattle just teed off on Ramirez, the center.
Yeah.
And, it just was downhill from there. Everybody wants to jump Peyton Manning for this. But that offensive line,
Yeah, they
they
got
just
terrible.
got dogged throughout that football game. And that was the difference, I think.
And, you just mentioned the crowd noise. And, before the game, I was looking at they had like the map of the United States of where all the fans and who the fans were rooting for. And basically the whole United States was Denver fans, and that one little northeast corner were Seahawk fans. So I was surprised also how loud they were, the 12th man, how loud they were. And that threw them for a loop.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, leading up to that game, there was a lot of, everybody thought Denver was going to win. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking defense wins Super Bowls. And I said to numerous times on the record that if Seattle was going to win that football game, they had to put pressure up the middle on Peyton Manning. Because you watch Peyton Manning play. He gets that ball, he looks, he steps up, and he makes those throws. Seattle took that away from him. He couldn't
Sure
step
did.
up. And the defensive coordinator, whoever put that game plan in, was a genius.
Yes.
Because the defensive ends, you did not see them rushing. You're talking a defensive lineman here, but you did not see them rushing out wide, making that big loop, trying to come around the back. They squeezed right in, and they pinched Peyton Manning in there. They knew he couldn't scramble,
Yeah.
so they just put him in a box right there, disrupted his timing, and with those defensive cornerbacks they have, hitting those receivers, man, they threw the whole timing of that offense off. And if you can throw the timing off, that's how you beat them. And they were able to accomplish it.
And the thing about that, what makes that effective, they get that pass rush with the 4-man.
That's right.
They don't need their linebackers to be part of that. So now they're in coverage, and now you're mauling the receivers downfield. Hey, that's what their philosophy is. It's kind of almost that Pittsburgh philosophy from back in the day.
That's exactly
that's
right.
still
And it
perfect.
still works.
Yeah, amen.
Let's back it up a second, though. It's before, because the game obviously didn't go the way most fans wanted, but very, very, very few people, as you know, ever experienced a Super Bowl. And both of y'all have experienced not only a Super Bowl, but you've been on the highest stages ever. What's it like to go into that game? I mean, right now all the kids are looking at Peyton Manning saying, He's not going to be rattled. He's going to get out there and just star and everything. But you've got 11 men on both sides of the field. They're playing in the biggest game in the world on stage. What's it like?
Go ahead, Randy.
Well,
What was it like for you?
you know, my
For me,
rookie,
it was just like another game. Yeah, right.
my rookie year, I can tell you, we played Pittsburgh. I was on special teams, and the thing I remember most about that particular game was, we lost the game.
Right.
But at the party afterwards, they had some humdrum band up there playing, and everybody was moping around. And we had Willie Nelson, Willie Jennings, Jerry Jeff Walker, Jimmy Buffett sitting over here at a table. And Drew, I don't know if you remember this, but Jimmy Buffett got up and said, "Barmaid, bring a pitcher." And by the end of the night, you'd have thought we won that Super Bowl.
There's nothing we could do about it at that point.
No, but it's
a great experience.
It's a
right?
great experience, and there's nothing. Getting there is exciting, but once you've been there and you see what it is and see what it means, and then you have an opportunity to get back and win a world championship, that's something you have for the rest of your life. I mean, nobody can take that away. You got that Super Bowl ring. Drew's got his Super Bowl. Nobody can
Y'all
take
see
that
that?
away from him. He
Sorry,
was on a
radio.
world championship team, top of the world, and it doesn't get any better than that.
No, and we got to play in 3. And the thing about that is that I played in 7 championship games in 11 seasons, so I was 1 game away from 7 Super Bowls.
We were
we were close a lot, and that's the thing about it. When you get there and you get close, it's such a fine line if you get over that hump and go again. So when you're there, you want to make the most of it. You want to soak everything in, and you want to. There's a lot of stuff you got to deal with. Success is relative. More success, the more relatives. You got family calling you once they know you're going to the Super Bowl, and you deal with that. There's a lot of that stuff you deal with. But, man, Coach Landry was so good at putting all that stuff in perspective for us and telling us not let that be a negative for you going and accomplishing what you did to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So we handle it in a business-like manner. And when we got to that Super Bowl city, we had about 3 days to do what we needed to do. And we did, and then that curfew set in, and, man, you could just see the stuff start churning. The guys getting serious, Landry's voice going up a little bit, the pep in everybody's step, the practices. We got this game plan down. We believe in the game plan. And then you go to that and get on that bus that morning and head to that stadium, and you're getting dressed, and you know it's the Super Bowl. It's not just another game.
Sure.
But once you get that first hit and that first play, now you're in a football game. All that excitement leaves, and now you're playing. Now you're doing what you do. You play football.
Yeah.
You can't get in a situation where you try to do more than what you normally do, or you're going to make mistakes. And looking back at this game again, we're talking about Peyton Manning. I don't think anybody could criticize Peyton Manning.
Right.
I mean, he did nothing different than what he does, other than Seattle just beat them physically up front and put pressure on him and disrupted his timing. And if I had to pick a most valuable player in that game, it would be that big defensive tackle, Bryant, because he was one of the main reasons, that big monster in the middle, he was one of the main reasons that they put pressure on Peyton Manning with 4 guys.
But did one of the things, talking about the defense, and one of the things that came out, they play kind of a hybrid defense, but they don't do a lot of shifting. So even when Peyton comes up and he likes to play the game, and you'll see him during the season, changing calls and doing this, and you'll see the defensive shift. You didn't see that. It was Seattle lined up, and like you said, physically just punched him in the mouth and said, here we go.
That's a good point, Jim, because they didn't move around. They weren't shifting. Ain't no need to make no calls if we're not shifting.
I don't care what defense
they just
you're
were
in
the flat out, here's what we do, beat us.
Yeah, Seattle came
And I
out.
love it.
And they said, I don't care what. Peyton Manning is the master at picking apart a defense. He's the master. Seattle just came out there and said, I don't care what defense they were playing that day. They whipped the guys in front of them. It boils down to one-on-one battles in that defensive line. And if they can put pressure on the opposing quarterback, especially in today's game, even when we played, if you can pressure the quarterback, If you can do that, you got a good chance of winning the football game.
Well, that's how we won Super Bowl 12, right?
Well,
we
that
pressured
was-
Craig Morton. We collapsed that pocket on Craig Morton, and we knew he couldn't run.
We were on
couldn't
him all
scramble,
day. Yeah.
And that, we
Well,
brought the
you had the
pressure.
inside information on
Oh
Mr.
yeah,
Morton,
well we
too.
knew, yeah,
Well,
we knew
it
exactly.
was
He was a
no-
former Cowboy.
Yeah.
Coach
was-
Landry knew him very well, and he had the game plan devised to take whatever he had in mind as far as throwing the ball. We stopped that run. Now we put the game in Craig's hands, and man, these guys came.
You know what? Why? And I was over at Doc's house celebrating his birthday, but we were out there watching. Why weren't Denver? Why weren't they throwing over the middle more, or early in the game? Do you-
They didn't have time
had
to.
time to get
How
it
they
in
going to
there.
throw over the middle when they got somebody in Peyton Manning's face? You disrupt his timing, that throws everything he does off. It wasn't Peyton's fault. His whole offense was thrown out of whack
Well-
because they were beating him up front.
Now, could he have done the old Staubach jump pass?
He
He
could,
could have, then he probably had 4 interceptions.
You know, you're talking about that going over the middle. I mean, I noticed this early in the game. They did go over the middle a couple of
were
times. And
trying,
you saw
yeah.
Cam Cameron,
yeah.
who
Oh.
really, he's a safety, but this guy is a linebacker.
Huge.
They looked
And
like they
he
knew
just-
where the ball was coming.
And just
Jim, you're
blasted
right.
him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I mean, Drew was a wide receiver. I mean, you know, you were one of the toughest guys to ever play. I mean, going over the middle, but I mean, you get blasted. Is
Well,
it,
yeah.
you know, the next time you go across, are you kind of looking for that guy, or?
Yeah, the last thing you want as a wide receiver is to get blasted early in the football game. You know?
Especially in that
Because
cold
now
weather.
you're-
And Drew played back when they could blast them.
Right.
They can't blast them anymore.
Right, and
Drew played when they could really blast you.
right. The only time I ever, and this is between us, whoever's listening out there, I ever got intimidated going across that middle was when I did get hit early in the football game. We played the Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving Day, and I ran that quarterback pass, our bread and butter, and I'm coming. It's clear. Tony Hill got jammed up at the line, so he couldn't clear out his man. His man was the safety, Doug Plank.
Oh, no.
And I don't know if you remember Doug Plank. And Danny threw that ball, and I'm looking, and he just laid me out in the ribs, and man, I was worthless the rest of the game. So we get in the fourth quarter, we run that in route, the 16 route. The game's still, you know, in jeopardy to score and all that. And I go in there, and Danny hits me right in the hands, and I'm looking. I mean, the cardinal sin for a receiver. No, you're not looking in there. And man, it bounced off us, and we punted. So the next day in the meetings, you're waiting for that play. And Landry ripped me good, man. I was so embarrassed, but that was the only time. But you get hit like that, and that's what defensive backs try to do. They try to intimidate you early to take you out of the game, to put that fear in you. And you got to put that out of your mind, even if you do get blasted early.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the A&E show, and we're going to come right back with more from the great Drew Pearson and Hall of Famer Randy White, right here on 1190 AM.
You get any water? You got any water?
Give me a dip of snuff, Drew.
Let me check.
How long you got?
How long's the break?
10 minutes?
We make it up as we go.
3 minutes?
3 minutes?
Three, 4 minutes?
Yeah, y'all are used to big time. This is the A&E show.
This is good. This is good.